All right, welcome back. We are finally starting on at chapter 8.1, which is going to be Perpetual Inventory FIFO Costing Method. All right, so if you guys remember, we talked about the different methods that you can use to calculate the cost of your inventory, okay? So we've seen these before, okay? We'd seen them when we did our periodic inventory tracking method. The only difference now is instead of using a periodic tracking method, we're using a perpetual tracking method, right? We saw yesterday what happens when you purchase and what happens when you sell, right? You're constantly updating your inventory on a daily basis, okay? So in this case, right, this time we're going to be applying the FIFO method, and we're going to also take a look at LIFO as well as moving average, okay? Okay, so those are the same three that we're going to be learning, right? This is going to be, but this time for perpetual inventory, okay? So, with that being said, right, these are examples of what you can use for perpetual inventory. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get started, okay? So, first in, first out method. Once again, now here, some of the formulas are the same, some of them are different. So in this case, right, of course, the purpose of FIFO, right, is we're trying to sell our first batches first, okay, and we have to go in this exact order because maybe we are selling a product that is a perishable good. They all have some kind of expiration dates. You definitely cannot sell the latest ones first and then leave all your, expiring ones last, okay? So in this case, right, what are the necessary formulas you need to know? Well, you still need to know how to figure out the purchasing price, which is going to be your quantity times the unit price. You need to know the total cost, which is the same thing, which is your purchase price plus your freight expense, okay? And of course, you also need to solve for your cost per item, right, which is the total cost divided by quantity. These three are your standard formulas that you're going to see that's going to be universal, doesn't matter what kind of tracking method you're using. The only difference is now when we're calculating our goods available, it's actually going to be your total cost of 1 times your total cost plus your total cost of 2 is going to give you your goods available. What do you mean by that? Well, just look at the formulas first, and then we'll look at the spreadsheet, and I'll show you exactly what I mean, okay? And then, of course, the next one is going to be quantity 1 plus quantity 2 here. That's going to give you your total quantity there, okay? And then, of course, you also have your goods available. Your goods available is going to be in a separate table, okay? That's going to involve your total cost there and your total quantity there, okay? And of course, your ending balance. You're always going to know what your ending balance is at all times, okay? All right, so okay, so sorry about that, guys. So let's go ahead and apply it to this scenario here where we are looking into, once again, how to utilize the information that we are putting in the table and actually calculate how we actually calculate our cost of goods sold. So in this case, right, very first thing that we did here was on June 1st, okay, that we purchased a total of 100 toys at $1.25 with a freight of $25. Okay, so straightforward. How do we journalize it, right? we practiced this yesterday. You're going to identify what kind of inventory item you have and then however you paid for it. Okay. So now we're going to plug it into our table here. So in this case, right, this is how our table is going to look. It's broken up to 3 sections. Right now, I'm only displaying 2, the cost of goods sold section and your purchases section, okay? The last section that we're going to talk about is going to be the inventory on hand section, which is going to be when we dive into having beginning inventory. But right now, we don't need to look at that one. We need to look at that we made a purchase, so we're going to go skip the cost of goods sold section and dive right into the purchasing section, okay? So in this case, right, we put the date, we purchase 100 units, and it's at $1.25 each. So now we need to solve for those same 3 formulas that we've been doing for the previous, from the previous chapter, okay? So in this case, purchase price is going to be 100 times $1.25, gives you $1.25, plus your freight of 25 gives you a total of $1.50. And because we're using FIFO, we have to keep our batches separate. We're going to identify this as $1.50 for this batch. And to further identify this, I'm also going to color code it, okay? So we use this color for now, okay? Because this is how we're going to be able to see where it is going to be going, okay? So then the next thing says here that on June 3rd, you end up selling 55 toys for $5 each, okay? So again, we need to solve for how much it cost me to sell those 55 items, okay? So in this case, that's what we're going to do. We go to our table. Because we're focusing on figuring out how much it costs me because I have to take it off of my inventory, right? I can't say that I have 100 toys when I actually sold 55 of them, so I should have X amount of left. So this is exactly what I'm doing. So we're plugging in that we sold 55 units, okay? We know for a fact that because we only have 1 batch of inventory, right? How much is it going to cost me per item if I were to sell it? In this case, the 100 of items that I have is currently at $1.50 each. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to carry that cost per item because I only have 1 batch in inventory and 1 batch only. So my assumption is this is the only batch I'm referring to. So I'm going to take my cost per item, which is $1.50, and what I'm going to do is figure out how much did it cost me to sell 55 items at $1.50. So if I calculate that, it should give me a total of $82.50. So what do I need to do next? Well, since I am going to have to update my inventory, I have to subtract it out. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to carry into this thing here where I show my work and say, this is what I'm doing. I just sold 55 units. So here I take my 100, subtract the 55, right? And I take my total cost of $150 minus out that $82.50. What do I have left remaining? So that means after this transaction, right? After I've sold those 55 units, I have 45 units left, right, at a grand total cost of $67, and 50 cents, and it's still $1.50, okay? All right, so that's what happens when we do perpetual inventory, right? We made a purchase, so we have 100 batch available. We sold something, so now we need to update my inventory, so now I only have 45 units left remaining in my first batch of inventory. So then the next one says that on June 5th, we end up purchasing another 100 toys at $1.28 and with a freight of $26. So once again, what do? Well, this is a new purchase, so this is another batch of inventory that we have. So in this case, I'm going to plug it in here that I purchased 100 more toys at $1.28. Okay, so it gives me 128 plus my freight of 26 will give me 154. And because it's my second batch of inventory, I'm going to identify what my cost per item is for this batch, and it's going to give me $1.54. And to further identify it, I'm also going to color code it. So here, boom, I made this one my red batch. Okay. So then again, on June 10, we end up making another purchase of 100 toys, but this time it's at $1.30 and the freight is $27. So again, we do the same thing, plug it in, figure out what my total cost per item is, and identify it with a color, okay? Just to show you what I have available. So in this case, right, if the next scenario is to make another purchase, I have 3 batches of inventory available. I have my yellow batch, which is my very first batch that I purchased originally on June 1st. And then I have my second batch on June 5th, and I have my third batch on June 10th, okay? And I color coded them to associate what order they should be in. So again, it should be yellow, red, and then green, okay? So that's the exact order. Okay. So then let's see what happens when I end up selling on June 12th. I sold 120 toys for $5 each, right? We can ignore the selling price because we can plug that in for the first part of the journal. What I'm most importantly looking for when I'm looking into my inventory worksheet is how much did it cost me? What's my cost of goods sold? Okay. So let's identify it. I have to sell a total of 120 toys. Well, I'm using the rules of FIFO, right? I know for a fact that my yellow batch is what I originally purchased on June 1st. So that's my first batch. I have to get rid of my first batch of yellow for that 45 units. And then, of course, that means I need to dip into my other batch to get me a grand total of 120, which means I need to sell 75 more to reach my grand total cost of goods sold to be 120 units. So that means I'm going to eliminate my red batch, okay? And I'm going to then also follow the rules of FIFO. That means the next batch I'm going to dip into is going to be the one on June 5th. And that one's going to be for 75 units. So I'm going to carry it over. So my yellow batch is currently at $1.50, right? I have 45 units left. So in this case, I don't need to calculate it. I know that I'm going to get rid of the whole entire thing. So it's going to be for $67.50. So you're going to take it off of your records here. Okay? And then I need to identify my next one, which is my red batch. My red batch is currently at $1.54. Okay, so that means I need to eliminate 75 of those items at $1.54. So if I calculate that, that's going to give me $115.50. So once again, what do I need to do? I need to subtract that red batch out. Okay? And then, of course, I'm also given my total right here that for selling a total of 120 units, it's going to cost me in grand total $183 even. Okay? And of course, right, my ending, if I were to do this, right, my total cost of goods sold, my total cost of goods sold was 175 units at a total of $265.50. While my ending balance should be a total of 125 units, right, my red batch and my green batch, right, at a grand total of $195.50. Okay? All right? Now, here is what you need to know. There's no need for a conversion entry because you never recognize your inventory as an expense. It already is inventory. And we already calculated what the cost of goods sold was every single time we sold the inventory. So in this case, there is no necessary need for a conversion entry. Okay? So no need for a conversion entry. Why? Because your inventory already is inventory, okay? And you already calculated the cost of goods sold, and there is no expense that you had occurred originally. So no need for a conversion entry. Okay? Any questions so far?
Not yet.
Okay. So then what happens when you have perpetual inventory with beginning inventory? Well, taking the information from our previous worksheet, right, we identify, say right here where it says on June 15, right, you should have had a total of 125 units left remaining at a total cost of 195.50. We know that because we solved for it from our previous worksheet, right? So what am I going to do with this information? I'm going to carry it into my new to my inventory on hand section, which in this case is not that section, right? It's another section on the inventory worksheet. But I put it in here, right? Just to show that I put it in the exact order, right? I still have the leftover from my June 5th, and then I have put my June 10th batch right underneath, okay? So this will tell me right here that I know that this that I have my beginning inventory, right? This is 120 units for a grand total cost of a 195. You're going to transfer the information exactly how you saw it from your previous worksheet, right? You don't combine them. You keep them in their separate batches of inventory, okay? So then let's see what happened next. Then on June 18, right, you end up selling 20 toys for $5 each, okay? So in this case, you sold another 90 toys, okay? So 90 is going to be your first thing that you're going to recognize here. So in this case, put the date in here. So 90 is what I need to sell, okay? Now in this case, right, I'm going to go in the exact order that I see it, right? My red batch is going to be sold first. In this case, I only have 25. So if I only have 25 units, then I need to sell a total of 90. So I need to figure out how much I need to keep selling more. In this case, 65, right? That will give me a grand total of 90 units. So by looking at this, right, I know I'm going to be eliminating my red batch at $1.54. So in this case, I'm getting rid of the whole entire thing. So it's going to be for that $38.50. So this is going to take, I'm going to subtract it out. So that's going to leave me with 0. Okay. Then I'm going to go, I have only one batch of inventory left, which is this green batch, right, on June 10. I know that it's going to be $1.57 because that's what the cost per item is. So I need to take out 65 of that. So I need to multiply that to get me a grand total of 102.05. So what's going to happen is I'm going to also subtract that out. So it's going to give me an ending remaining balance left in my inventory on hand to be 35 units at $1.57. Okay, for a grand total of $54.95. And this is my grand total, right? Especially when we talked about this before, right? When you have to separate your two batches of inventory, you don't record it as two separate costs of goods sold, one for this batch and one for that batch. You just add them all up together because at the end of the day, they're all going to go to the same account. So in this case, my whole entire 90 units cost me a grand total of $140.55. Okay? So again, next scenario says here that on June 21st, you end up purchasing 100 toys for $1.32 with a freight of 26. So again, plug your numbers in. So it's 132 plus 26 is going to give you a total of 158. Because we're using FIFO, we need to keep these batches separate by figuring out how much it's going to cost per item in this batch. So $1.58. And once again, since I started using colors, I'm going to also pick another color. Okay. And again, on June 25th, we end up making another purchase of 100 toys for $1.35 with a freight of 27. So boom. Okay. So now, if the next scenario is to sell something, I have this exact order, right? I have the remaining green batch from my previous beginning balance. I have a new purchase on June 21st for the blue batch and another one for June 25th for my orange batch. Okay. So then let's see what happened next. On June 28th, or June 27, we end up selling another 120 toys, okay? So in this case, right, because I'm using FIFO, right, I need to identify which batch came first. So in this case, my green batch was from my previous beginning balance. So in this case, right, I know that I'm going to get rid of my green batch, so that's only 35. But I need to get to 120. So in this case, this is where I need to dip into my next batch of inventory, which is the blue batch right here that I purchased on June 21st. I only need to take out 85 of them, okay? So again, my cost per item is $1.58, okay? So again, I take this out, right, getting rid of my green batch, and then I identify that this 85 at $1.58 is going to give me a grand total of $134.30. So in this case, I also have to subtract it out. So that means my blue batch is now remaining at 15 items for $23.70. Okay. So then my last thing I have here on June 28th is that I end up selling 65 more units for $5 each, leaving me on June 30th with a grand total ending balance of 50 toys left. So I plug in here, right? Same thing, right? I identify that my blue batch, there's only 15 left. Okay, so that means I can get rid of this one. And then again, I only have one batch of inventory left, my orange batch, and I need to sell 50 items more to get me a total of 65. So that's going to be at $1.62. And then I'm going to go ahead and take that out. So that means at the end of the day, I sold a total of 65 units, giving me an ending balance of 50 units left in my orange batch of inventory. Okay? And that means my ending balance is correct, right? I do have 50 toys left, but my costing is at a total of $81 even. And my total cost of goods sold was 275 units at a grand total of $434.50. Okay? So again, this is perpetual, right? We're constantly calculating left and right, okay? Every time we make a purchase, we got to update our inventory. Every time we sell, we got to subtract our inventory. It's constantly moving. And this isn't just only for at the end of the day. This is every single time you purchase and every single time you sell your items. So in this case, this one is, like I mentioned before earlier, right? It's a very tedious job. It's a very tedious worksheet that you have to constantly be calculating over and over and over and over and over again. Okay? And that's perpetual for you. This perpetual, okay, is the most common tracking method because, again, if you're selling something that you are constantly selling, you best bet to keep a good track record of it because you need to always have inventory stock at all times for you to be able to meet the demands of your customers. So if you're not keeping a good track record, right, you end up saying, okay, yeah, I'll sell you 50 items. You go back in your storage and said, oh, I don't have any more. You have to give them a rain check saying, I'm sorry, I am back stocked. I need to order more. Please come back and I'll sell you whatever items that you have. It happens. And that's why this is a preventative measure for you to know how much inventory you have on hand at all times. Okay? So any questions in regards to 8.1, we're actually going to go ahead and dive into the exercise right now so we can kind of get the concept down. All right, any questions? Okay, no questions? Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So here you go, chapter 8.1, Perpetual Inventory FIFO exercise. Okay. Number one, your inventory method is perpetual and it is FIFO. Okay, first in, first out. Okay. For this very first scenario, I am going to be using colors. Okay, so we can identify where our money's going, where it is being tracked, and what happens and where these numbers are coming from, okay? So the first one's going to be very, 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 very colorful. Then the next one, I'm going to drop some of the colors, so then it's kind of easy. But then the next time we keep going for it, we're going to make it more cleaner and simpler, right? Because the idea is you need to see where your numbers are going, especially when I post the answers, right? Because if I didn't do any of that, you guys are going to look at the answer and be like, it's blank. Okay? Why is it blank? It's because the work was done during class. So I want to make sure for the very, very first example, you understand where things are going and how and where they're being plugged in, okay? So for here, for instance, on the 5th of May, we end up purchasing 1,000 units at $3 each on an account with the freight cost of $100. Now in this case, notice this, I'm not going to have you practice anything with journalizing, okay? I need you to understand first, how do I plug it into my inventory worksheet? And then we will eventually do one where we will practice journalizing and everything, okay? So first, I just want you to get used to understanding how to use the worksheet. So in this case, let's purchase that 1,000 units at $3 each with a freight of 100, okay? So once again, I'm going to go to my first FIFO table here. So this is what I was mentioning to you earlier, right? You have 3 sections. The first 3 columns, or in this case, well, plus the date, okay? First 3 columns is going to be focusing on the cost of goods sold section, okay? The next 6 columns is going to be focusing on your purchasing, okay, as well as your workspace area. And then the last 3 sections is going to be your inventory on hand. How I want you to utilize this table is we are going to be working from left to right, meaning we're going to first look at the first column of cost of goods sold. Is our transaction something that we sold? If not, we move on to the next one. The next one is going to be your purchasing. Did you purchase? Did you subtract something? Did you sell something? If you did, this is your workspace area for you to add up all your transactions. And then the inventory on hand. Because our inventory that we're purchasing is perpetual, we need to transfer into my inventory on hand. Okay? So I'm going to show you how this works. So that's, again, so we go from section 1, then section 2, and then section 3. And we're going to do that back and forth for every single transaction that we deal with. Okay? So the very first one is we made a purchase. So in this case, we're going to drop the first 3 sections because we made a purchase of inventory on June 5th. Okay, so June 5th, 1,000 units at $3, and the freight cost you $100. So May 5th. Okay, so again, we're going to skip the first 3, and we purchase 1,000 units at $3 each with a freight of $100. Okay. So once again, I need to do the same 3 formulas, right? What's my purchase price?
$3,000.
Okay. You're gonna take your quantity of 1,000 times the unit price of $3 gives you 3,000. Okay. What's my total cost?
3,100.
Good, right? You're gonna add your purchase price plus your freight to give you your total cost. So in this case, 3,100. Now I need to solve for it because we're using FIFO. What is my cost per item?
$3.10.
Okay, good. $3.10, right? You're going to take your total cost and divide it by your quantity. Okay? And this is what I'm going to do because we finished the second section. Now we need to transfer this because this is going to give you your goods available right here. It's this table right here where it's inventory on hand. Okay? I'm going to transfer this information saying that I have 1,000 units at a total cost per item of $3.10. What I do wish or would recommend is for you to have the calculation right here in the total cost, okay, where I take my quantity and I multiply it by my cost per item, okay? because every time we sell something and we have to adjust our inventory, this is what you're going to be adjusting. You're going to be only adjusting your quantity. So if I were to put 500, right, it's going to automatically calculate it for me in this total cost column, okay? And that's what I want you to do, okay? So in this case, we still have 1,000. Now, what do I want you to do here, right? We did mention we're going to be using colors. So I'm going to go ahead and select a color. I'm just going to do it in order, okay? So red first, okay? What I also want you to do too, if you want to know your constant batch of totals of inventory, you can do your totals now. But if not, you can always wait till the very end as well. Okay? So there you go. There's my first batch of inventory right here for the 1,000 items at $3.10. Okay? So let's see what happened next. So then May 7 rolls around and we end up selling 550 units at $10 each cash with no sales tax. So we sold 550 units. So it is May 7. We sold 550 units. In this case, we only have one batch of inventory and one batch only. So for instance, this one costs me $3.10. So that's going to give me a grand total of how much? Okay. Now, here's your option. Your cost per item can eventually be an unrounded number. We got lucky and this was a rounded number. So for practice purposes, I would recommend you to use your equal round formula, even though you have a rounded number, because you can have your unrounded numbers. And remember, from the periodic inventory, I want you to keep your numbers unrounded until the very end. So in this case, I'm going to round my cost of goods sold. Okay, I want to know what 550 times $3.10 is. Okay, comma, 2 decimal places. Good. 1705. All right. So once we have that right, okay, this is my red batch, right? I'm going to go ahead and subtract this out so I can figure out what my new balance is going to be, right? 1,000 minus 550 is going to leave me with 450, okay? My total cost of $3,100, right? And I just sold $1,705, right? Is going to leave me with an ending balance of $1,395. So I did my calculations here. So all I'm going to do here is now I finished my section 2. I need to update my inventory because now I no longer have 1,000 units. I have 450 left. And does it give me my $1,395? Yes, it does. $1,395 is my ending balance. And I only have 450 units left remaining. Okay? So again, we sold from my red batch here. This was all my red batch transaction here. Okay? Giving me my ending red balance of $450. Okay? All right? So let's see what's next. Okay? Next we have here is May 10. We purchased 850 units at $3.25 each with a freight of 75. So 850, 325, and 75. Okay? So May 10, right? We skipped our cost of goods sold because we didn't sell anything. We purchased something, right? We purchased 850 units at $3.25 with a freight of 75. So what's my purchase price here going to be?
$27.62.50.
Good. Plus my freight of 75.
$28.37.50.
Okay. Giving me a cost per item to be Okay, so this is where we have a unrounded number, right? It's going to cost me 3.33824 per item. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and identify this with a color. Okay, just so then I can keep a good track record of it, right? I'm going to keep it in order by color. So in this case, yellow. Okay. So once again, we're going to carry that I have 850 units, right? Costing me at $3.38. Okay. Okay. And that's going to give me my grand total of $2,837.50. And this is my yellow batch. Yes.
Okay, so you've left it with not rounded. When do we round?
On your cost of goods sold.
Cost of goods sold.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why?
I wasn't sure which one we did that on. So.
Okay. Why do we have to do the cost of goods sold? Because this is the one you're journalizing. Can you journalize that you sold half a penny? No, exactly. So your cost of goods sold is going to be the one that you're constantly rounding your numbers to the nearest penny. Okay. Now, of course, this is where, okay, you know what? I want to know how much I have for my cost of goods sold at all times. This is where, okay, if that's what you want to do, you can go ahead and enter in your equal sum to let you know all the total batches of inventory that you have on hand. So in this case right now, I have 1,300 units right now at a grand total cost of $4,232.50. Okay, so this is your goods available, right? Is you don't necessarily need to have this, but it's good to have, especially when you reach the end of the inventory accounting period, because then you can match your numbers to see if your physical count did have the same amount of numbers. But in this case, this is just so then you don't have to do it at the end, right? I'm doing it now to let me know that, okay, well, I just purchased 850 units. I have 1,300 available to sell. Okay. All right. So let's see what happened next. May 12th, I end up selling 360 units. Okay. So let me find here. It is May 12th, and we just sold 360 units. Now let's take a look at our batches of inventory. Okay. I have a red batch of inventory, okay, that I made a purchase on June 5th. And then I just purchased a new batch of inventory on May 10th. Now, looking at that, color coding wise, right? My red batch. Is that enough to cover all 360 units?
Yes.
Yes, it is. So in this case, my cost per item for my red batch is that $3.10. So I need to solve to tell me how much it's going to cost me to sell 360 units at $3.10.
100. Oh, I lost it. 1116.
Good. $1,116. And so what I'm going to do here is, just so that you guys can identify where these numbers are taken out from, I'm going to carry my ending balance of 450, right, for my red batch. I just sold 360, so how much should I actually have left?
90.
You should have 90 units left, right? Okay. Same thing here. If I started with 1395 and I just sold 1,116, how much should I have left? 279. Okay. And this was all my red batch of inventory. Okay. This one too, right? This one came from my red batch of inventory. So then let's update my inventory because I no longer have 450 units left. I just have 90. Okay. So that's going to give me $940, 940 units left on hand. My red batch is now 90 units at a grand total of $279. Okay. Yes.
How are you keeping the track of Perpetual in the lead? What's the formula you're using there?
Which
Or
one?
you're in the 90?
I'm just
Eh,
I'm adding them together.
Oh, you are manually putting 90 there.
Oh, you mean on my left side?
Yeah.
So my right side, excuse me, where it
Yeah.
says 90 here. Yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
punching in the number.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You're not using the formula. As your stock goes down, you're changing that number.
You can, but remember,
Yeah.
that's also another dangerous, because if you put a formula there,
Yeah.
you know, it can't. So we'll talk about that when we get better at the inventory worksheets. That, yeah, you can simply, instead of having to do the calculations right here, I could just simply just say, right, what is, right, 450 minus 360, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, gives you 90. Yes, you can definitely do that, but right now I'm just showing you by doing the calculations right here in the middle. You don't need to do that. You could just type it in.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so then when I post the answers, you guys are, it's not like 0, 0, 0, 0 this, and you don't know where everything is. So in this case, for the sake of this first one, I'm just going to color code everything. Okay, and then next example, right after this, I'm going to eliminate the colors in the middle. Okay, so there you go. All right, and let's see what's next. So then May 15, you end up selling another 600 units. Okay. So we sold another 600 units, okay, on May 15. Now, let's take a look, right? I have my red batch of inventory and I have my yellow batch of inventory, right? Leaving me at 940. I for surely have enough to cover all 600 units. However, looking at the batches of inventory, right, I only have 90 left in my red. So that means I need to split my batches here, because I have 90 units in my red, okay? And that is at $3.10, which is going to give you, right? You don't need to calculate it, but I'm going to be consistent and just plug in my formula anyway, okay? It's at $279. So if you want to go ahead and subtract that out right away, you can do so. So that means you are left with 0, right? For your red batch. So that means I can safely go ahead and eliminate this completely, right? Now, do not delete anything, especially because we cell referenced, okay? If you typed everything in, feel free to delete it. But in this case, I just put a 0 there, and it's just going to zero out my batch of inventory here. For inventory purposes, you definitely want to at least keep some kind of reference point that you have something there. That's why in my middle section, it gives me a step-to-step of what actually happened, okay? Where the next time we do our inventory worksheet, I don't need to have all this clutter space, okay? So for now, I have 0 in my red batch of inventory, okay? And this was my, was from my red batch, right? Now I need to sell 600 units. So how many more do I need to sell in order to reach to 600? Well, you could do your math here, right? 600 minus 90 gives you 510. Right, so there you go, to get me my grand total of 600. So that means 600, okay? Well, I only have one batch of inventory left anyway. Its cost per item is 3.33824, okay? So this is where your equal round formula is going to come into play, okay? Because it's going to round off the total calculations to the very last penny. So in this case, right, how much is my cost of goods sold if I sold 510 units at 3.33824?
$1,702.50.
$1,702. You said 52? Okay. So remember, 6 decimal places is ideal. I only have 5. So let's see what the next number is. So it's actually 235. Right? And that should give you a more rounded number here. And this is your yellow batch of inventory. Okay. So that gives you a grand total of $1981.50, right? This is for your journal. Okay. So again, I'm going to copy down the yellow so I can subtract this out. Okay. So 850 minus 510, I should have 340 left. Okay. All right, we're going to take our beginning of 2,837.50 minus my 1,702.50. Okay, and that should give you 1135 even. Okay, this is my yellow batch of inventory. So that means I should have 340 units left at $1,135 even. Okay, so I have ending balance of 140. Okay. All right, good so far?
Yep.
So let's see what happened next. May 20th, we end up purchasing 300 units at $3.50 with a freight of $20. So 300, 350 at and $20. Okay. So again, let's find the next blank space here. Okay, so today is May 20th. We purchased 300 units at $3.50 with the freight of $20. Okay. All right. So here, what is my purchase price?
$1,050.
Okay. Plus $20. Right?
$1,070.
Good. That's your total cost. And then what is my cost per item here? Whoop. Okay, I get 3.
356666666.
Okay. So, okay. And I'm going to go ahead and carry that number into my inventory on hand worksheet, right, that I just purchased 300 units at a total cost per item of 3.566666, which should give you your total cost of $1,070. And let's go ahead and color code this batch here. Okay. And right, I'm going to keep it in order. I'm going to make this green. Okay. Okay. So now we don't have red anymore. We only have yellow and green. And we have a total of 640 units available to sell. Okay. So then let's see what happened next. May 22nd rolls around. Right? We end up selling 450 units. Okay, so 450 units. So in this case, we definitely have enough, okay, to sell 450 units on May 22nd. 450 units. Now let's take a look at our batch of inventory. I have 2 batches left. Yellow and green. Green I just purchased. Okay? Using the rules of FIFO, I still have a remainder of my yellow batch. I have 340 units left. Okay? So that means I can get rid of that 340. Okay? But I need to get to a total of 450. So that means I need to sell another 110. Okay? So let's get rid of this 340 units at that 3.338235. Okay? Which we already know to be that 1135, right? We already know that to be. Okay? So I can go ahead and eliminate that out of my batch of inventory, okay? Right? My 340 minus 340 is going to give you 0. Okay? 1135 minus 1135, or yep, is going to give you 0. So in this case, I can safely zero out my yellow batch of inventory. So I only have my green batch for 300 units left to sell. Okay? I already did my calculations here, right? Saying that, oops. Okay? Saying that, right? I took 450 minus the 340, right? And I got 110 that I need to sell from my green batch of inventory. Okay? So, right, 110, what is my cost per item right now? Well, my cost per item is that 3.56666666, right? So I'm going to equal round this formula. How much is going to be my total cost of goods sold if I sold 110 items at 5, excuse me, I cannot read, 3.55566666.
392.33.
Okay, good. All right, and if I add these up together, my grand total cost to sell 450 units is going to give me a total of $1,527.33. Okay, and again, this is my green batch of inventory. Okay, so once again, let's eliminate from my green batch of 300. Right, we just sold 110, so I should have a remainder of 190. Okay, same thing here. I gotta eliminate, right? My 1070. I gotta subtract that I sold a total of this 392.33, and that's gonna give me a grand total of 677.67. Okay. All right. Green batch of inventory. Okay, so that means, let's see, I need to update my inventory to say that now I only have 190 units left. 190 at 677.67. Okay. All right. So then let's see what happened next. May 25th rolls around. We end up purchasing our last batch of inventory here, right, for 650 units at $3.75 each with a freight of 50. So 650, 375 at and $50. Okay, 650, 375 and 50. So May 25th, right? We didn't sell anything. We purchased 360 units at $3.75 each with a freight of 50. So what is my total purchase price here?
$24.37.50.
Good. Plus 50 gives me a total cost of
$24.87.50.
good. And then cost per item.
Okay, 3.826923.
Okay. Okay. So there you go. Now I gotta transfer that batch into my inventory on hand here. That I have 650 units at my 3.826923, and then it's gonna give me my total cost of $2,487.50. And I'm going to color code this one more time just so that we can follow along. Okay? So I color code it blue. Okay? All right, so now I have a total of 840 units available to sell. Okay? So then, lastly, on May 27, you end up selling 740 units, okay? Giving you at the end of the month of May 31st, you should have a total of 100 units left remaining. So, May 27, right, we sold 740 units. Okay. So, let's see here. May 27, sold 740 units. Okay. So let's take a look at my batches of inventory. I definitely have enough to sell, but I still have a remaining batch of my green at 190, and then I definitely have to dip into my blue batch. So in this case, I need to sell my green batch of 190 first. Okay? So 190 is what I need to sell, and my end goal is 740. Okay? So that means I need to take out 550 from my blue batch. Okay. So let's see. I already know that if I eliminate my entire green batch here, it's going to be 677.67.
Darn computer should know what you're typing, right?
Yeah, I know. Today I'm having a hard time typing today. So let's see. What? Did I make a typo? I think I made a typo. Yeah, there you go. Okay. So then, let me see. We have that right here, right? We're going to subtract that 190 to give me 0. Okay. Same thing here. We just need to cross-reference it. So we know that this is completely eliminated. Okay. 0 out. So that means my green batch is gone. Okay. So all I have left is my blue batch. Now I already did my calculation here saying my goal is to get to 740, right? I need to know how much I need to keep selling to get me to 740. So in this case, I already calculated 740 minus that 190. It leaves me with 550. is what I need to subtract out from my blue batch. Okay? Now, my blue batch right now, the cost per item currently is that 3.82692 number. I think one more, let me add one more decimal here. Okay? Okay? So 3.826923. So what is going to be my total cost of goods sold here for selling these 550 units at 3.82693?
2104.81.
Okay, good. 210481. Okay, and this is my blue batch of inventory. Okay. All right. All right, so that should give me a grand total, right? If I were to sell all 740 units, that would give me a grand total cost of goods sold of $2,782.48. So there you go. Now I need to eliminate that from my blue batch. So I'm going to carry my blue batch down minus what I sold, 550. So I should have 100 remaining. Okay. Minus this, right, should give me 38269 left remaining. Right? And what did my ending balance say as of May 31st? I should have 100 units left remaining, right, in my blue batch for $382.69. And that's how we did the very first one. Okay? Any questions?
You realize when we go to do this, it's going to be hard not to